Hello. Today I'm going to be talking about my project on predicting personality. So first off, hi, I'm Suma Murray, and I am a data analytics student here at the University of Central Florida in Orlando. And what got me interested in predicting people's personalities was a lot of my friends, they are considering arranged marriages, and a lot of my friends are also doing this online dating. And usually, to figure out this kind of person, we always have to see like, oh, like whatever they answer on their profile, the questions that they get, and of course, as their best friends tend to stalk them on social media, their Twitter, their Instagram, whatever, and whatnot. So I thought if there was a way to collect all these answers and then predict somebody's personality. So, one way that we found was the Myers-Briggs personality type test. So this test will allow us to know if there are like extrovert or introvert. Do they take decisions based on whatever they feel or whatever they think and whatnot. So I thought this was like a great start to understand like what kind of person they are. And so first I had to collect the data. So the first data set that I used was from Kaggle. And this Kaggle data set had over 8,000 records, and they had their Myers-Briggs type. And they also had their the last post that they had on this personality forum. So like the last 50 posts for each person, for each record. And the other place where I collected the data was from the Twitter API, Twitter developer. And I'll discuss more about that. So based on the Kaggle, this was the total number of different personalities that they had. And these are the 16 different kinds. And based on each type, I created a Wordle. And if you see here, you could see like over here, think. You can't really see it, but think is here. On like the top 16, you see that think is one of the biggest words. Not top 16, top 8. Think is one of the biggest or main words. The reason why think is one of the main words is because you see that almost all of them have an N, which is intuition. So they take in information based on intuition or thinking rather than sensing. You could also see that love here is a big word because these people, they have an F, which means like they make decisions based on feeling rather than thinking. So, yeah. After analyzing the data from the Kaggle, I decided to build my machine learning model. And I tried 10 different kinds. I tried XGB, I tried decision trees, I tried cat boost, and the best one and the one with the best accuracy was from linear SVC. And I decided to use that for the to test it out. I tried it on my Twitter, the Twitter data that I collected. So where I got this Twitter data was I used Twitter developer, and I selected a couple of celebrities, and I picked out the top 50, or not the top 50. I web script the top 50, the last 50 posts that this person had. So originally I had the first basic Twitter account, Twitter developer, and it only allowed me to scan 200. So when I scanned 50, I was only able to scan for 4 different people. So one of my friends, she's a law student, and she needed certain politicians certain data on politicians. So I decided it's a win-win situation for both of us. And I took some of the politicians that she had on her list, one of them being Pope Francis. And as you can see here, his intuition, I mean, not intuition, my fault. He's more of like an introvert. As you can see, it's 100% here. His intuition is also 100% here too. Over here, you can see that most of his decisions, 75, 3/4 of them are based on thinking, while 1/4 of them is based off feelings. And over here, you can see that he deals with the world mostly by perceiving rather than judging. The next person that I scanned was Putin. And as you can see, he also had 100% intuition, not intuition, I'm so sorry. 100% in, he's 100% of an introvert, and you can see that he also has a high sense of intuition. He has a little less than 10% of sensing when it comes to taking in information. And as you, sorry, over here you could see that he also makes most of his decisions based off thinking rather than feeling, which is a lot less. If you see, it's a little less than 10%, which is less than whatever Pope Francis had. And here you could also see that he makes most of his decisions based off perceiving rather than judging. But one situation that I had here was these are politicians. They have to keep a responsible persona, and they also have to be very professional when it comes to when they're on their social media accounts, because they're politicians. A lot of people follow them and depend on them. So that's why I felt like that's why they had a very high intuition rate, not intuition rate, inversion rate, or they also had a very high intuition rating too. So I also felt like they had to, also whenever they express their decisions, it's mostly based off thinking rather than feeling. So I thought that maybe if I choose somebody who doesn't have such a responsibility, would be able to get different results. So I decided to scan two stand-up comedians from India and see like what would theirs be, because they don't have to be formal, and they're known to be informal. So that's why I decided to scan. When I got my Twitter API developer upgraded to the extended version, and I scanned two different comedians, one being Aishwarya Mohanraj. And you could also see here that she does have 100% intuition, but you could also, I mean, not intuition, introvert. And if you see here, she also makes most of her decisions based off thinking rather than feeling. And she also has a high perceiving rate rather than a judging rate. And also here, you can see intuition versus sensing. She also has a very high intuition rate. So as you can see, it was similar that we had the 100% in conversion. So I gave it a shot with another one. And this is Niveditha, and she also had 100% inversion rate. So then that's when I realized that it's not just Twitter, but it's also the limited amount of characters. I should probably go back to Aishwarya. When there was something else that I had to consider, because she is an Indian stand-up comedian, a lot of her tweets were in Hindi. So, and the data that I collected from this public forum was English. It's based in America. So most of the the website is managed in America. And I feel like most of the posts, because I saw the times, most of them were within a reasonable time in America. So I thought that maybe this was not correct for that reason, because they couldn't understand or they couldn't correlate, and it wasn't as accurate. Niveditha had more English posts, so I thought like maybe that would get me a more accurate score. But I also realized that she had 100% introvert rate. That's when I realized that Twitter has a limited amount of characters you can post on a tweet. So I needed something that allowed somebody to express as much as they can through something. So that's when I decided to scan my friends' text messages, Snapchats, and whatnot to see what kind of score I would get with them. So here I scanned on the left-hand side. These are my colleagues, and on the right-hand side, these are like two of my best friends who also go to UCF, and they asked me for a lot of help in school. But first, let me talk about my colleagues. So after scanning all of their text messages, emails, and scanning their LinkedIn's, after that, I created a Wordle, and then I figured out main point words that I got from them, similarity words, and the comment here was generated after scanning all their information. So as you can see, I like the I rate or the introvert rate for Poland after collecting all this information was 0.16, and the intuition rate was also not as high, but 0.47. And he also had a thinking rate of 0.46, which is he has a little bit of a higher feeling rate. And he also has a 0.81% of perceiving, which I also asked them to take the Myers-Briggs test too, to compare if I would get something similar to what they had. And I have to say, I was pretty close with Pawn, and also the same thing with Minna. And I did actually get more of not like 100% introvert, but also I got like the extrovert factor, and I got a lower introvert rate for these people, because I think most of their text messages, they're more personal and they talk a lot more, and there's no character limit. And so I was able to get that from these four. You could also see Softwick here. I had a lot more text messages, emails, Snapchats, Instagram DMs from him. Same thing with Srihan. I had a lot more text messages and Snapchats from him. So I feel like these two were a lot more accurate. As you can see, Softwick also had a little bit of a higher introvert rate compared to the other three, but he didn't get that 100% introvert rate. Same thing with but the only thing is now the intuition is a little bit off, because I realized that, for example, Softwick, he had a 0.33 for intuition. However, when he took the Myers-Briggs test, he got intuition rather than sensing. Same thing with Pawn and Minna. They also got intuition. I mean, at least they got a much higher rate compared to Softwick, but it still wasn't like over 40%. So I think if they were, I would have probably counted it as sensing rather than intuition if I didn't see their test scores or like their Myers-Briggs test results. So yeah. So in conclusion, I realized that the formal language in the short text was not accurate enough to figure out intuition, introversion and whatnot. So I thought that the best way was probably collecting text messages and whatnot. But obviously for this situation of like whenever trying to predict somebody for a blind date or whatnot, that might not help because we don't have, I've scanned 2, 3 years of text messages and Snapchats for these previous 4. So that's why it was it was a lot more accurate, but obviously I will not be able to have that kind for when I meet a random person or a new person. So this definitely needs a lot more work, but it is, I personally think, is a good start. So yeah, thank you so much. If you have any questions or concerns, email me. If you have any ideas, also let me know. And yeah, thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye. Have fun.